So we're going to do loads of different potato dishes today, about 9 or 10, don't know how many I'll manage. And most of them will be more unusual ones rather than the basic ones. This is a Maurice Piper potato, and this is a white potato. Maurice Piper ones are quite well known, and they're well known for chips and roast potatoes. Slightly more expensive than these cheaper white potatoes. Roughly 20% carbohydrate in the Maurice Piper and about 17.5 in the other one according to the packaging. What colour chopping board? Should be using a brown one for any dirty type vegetables like potato. Oh, how long did it took? I peeled them all as you can see, and it took me about 3 minutes 20. What? And that was number 5 now. How do you stop potatoes getting brown? I put them in water. You wouldn't normally put lemon juice on potatoes, that would more for apples. Good examic browning, by the way. What are some potatoes are green skin because the sunlight's got to them, so if you're growing them you need to make sure they're covered with earth, otherwise they go green. So now the next thing I'm going to do is make these into a leaf shape. Now, I should do this on another video, but I'm going to show you again, so I'm just doing its potatoes today. So this is a real good one for your exam, reasonably easy to do. So you cut the middle bit out and a 45-degree angle, yeah? So 45 degrees. Don't go too much in because otherwise then you can still see the lines through the middle. Then with this knife, 45 degrees still, I'm going to do at least 3 cuts in it. 2, 3, and then I'm going to get a leaf shape. Turn it round. Now I'm going to roast these, but I'm going to do them slightly different. I'm going to do a bit like fondant potatoes. Fondant potatoes are well known for being cooked in butter and stock, so I'm going to cook them all. These 3 different types of roast I'm going to do, but I'm going to do a more fancy shape. So for your exam, doing just normal roast potatoes that you have at home will be okay, but you need to do some flashy designs because then you'll get more marks depending what comes up next year from what you have to do. So we're going to cut these out, and hopefully you're going to see this, and it's going to look like a leaf. So as you can see, they look like leaves. So they're going to go straight in the stock and oil and butter. Now I'm going to do a thing called a fondant potato. So I'm going to slice it a bit thinner because this is too thick. Then I'm going to make a nice shape with it. So I could have a plain round cutter, but I haven't got a plain one, so I've got this. So I'm going to try and push it through. I don't know if I'm going to manage it. Oh, quite easy actually. So we've got a nice big bit of potato here, and this could be called a fondant. Now if I can push it through the other side, it might be easier. So I've got a nice big potato here, but nice and round. So we're going to cook. That's going to take quite a while in the oven, obviously, a big one. Then I'm going to do a thing called a Chateau Potato, which you get in some posh hotels in London. You go to the Savoy and all that, they'd have all this sort of stuff. So then I cut it round, and I'm trying to cut a barrel shape. So I need about 6 sides to it. Yeah, it's not as easy as it looks. And then with all these trimmings, I make mashed potato bits, so they wouldn't waste it enough. So if you go to a real posh place, probably none of you have ever had this before, because it would take a chef ages to do this. And it looks like a barrel, but obviously not a round barrel. And then it can actually stand upright like so. Let's see if you can see that in the camera. So that would be a Chateau potato. I'll try and make it look nearer. Oh, that's it. So it looks a bit like a barrel. So if you go to a real posh place, you might get that one day. So I'll maybe look later. So they're all going to go in here. Now you could parboil them first, and you can stand these up. So there's the 3 types of roast potato. So for your exam, you could do barrel shape. The leaf ones I think look really good for the amount of effort. And we have had some pupils win money making them. We've won it twice, £1,000 and £700. When they won it was only 700. The last time we won it was 1,000. So they're ready to go in the oven. So I'm just going to put them straight in the oven. They'll take about an hour to cook. The next one. So now we're going to do. I'm just going to keep all these potatoes. I'm not going to throw them away. So I'm just going to get a little bowl for them, or a little dish for them. But we could just boil them later. But I've already boiled some ready to show you. So the boiled ones are already done. So all the bits in. Now I might boil them up as well actually while I'm doing it. So actually, I've got some water there. I'm just going to put them straight in the boiling water. I've got the gas off to save wasting them. So then these ones are all going to be for sliced type potatoes. So and some's going to be for soup. So I'm going to slice them up thin. Now there's 2 famous ones. One that you've probably heard of, which is called Dolphin potatoes, and another one which is called Bollinger potatoes, which are Bollinger cooked in stock and onions and a little bit of butter, and the Dolphin potatoes are garlic and cream. And some of your mums and dads, I reckon most people's mums and dads will know what Dolphin are, might not know what the Bollinger are. So I need some of these, so I'll do one more, because I'm going to do some leek and potato soup. This is a very famous soup. And I would say years ago, tomato soup would have been well known. But now I reckon leek and potato soup sold more places. At the moment it's awkward because obviously they're all shut because of the lockdown. So I'm going to show you how to do the spring onion. Cut it like that, then I can cut 5 at a time, use all the green bit up as well. Now I'm putting this in a mashed potato later, but I'm just going to cook it a little bit. That's why I'm cutting up at the same time while I've got the chopping board. I've already cut one up and I've already got it in the pan with butter. So this is called champ, which is mashed potato. Normal mashed potato you've heard of, but you might not have heard of champ, which is champs with spring onion normally. And then you get cold cannon, which is with cabbage and spring onion, or just cabbage, depending which recipe you go by. So take these out of the water. Now this is for leek and potato soup. So, and then you normally liquidize this. So I'm just going to dice these up. Not too small, it's going to get liquidized anyway. But you can actually have it with lumps in, but normally they liquidize it. So they make the soup with the leek and the potato, and then liquidize it. Your mums and dads have probably heard of this before as well. If any of you have ever had this. We don't normally do this. We normally do tomato at school. We used to do. You could get the choice actually, but the last few times I think I've got them all to make tomato. But I have, for some years, made them, give them the choice. Most people like tomato, youngsters, so that's what we normally make, but we could have both actually. So, that's the potato cut up, and obviously the other thing that goes in it are leeks, and I've cut all the leeks up. They're under my breadcrumbs over here. So we've got some leeks here, so we've got loads of leeks here cut up. Now one thing with leeks is you have to be careful that when you cut them up, that you wash them well, because sometimes they've got some dirt inside, so you need to be careful with that. So the spring onions are done, so I'm just going to come over here and get the spring onions out. So I'm only cooking them for a little bit, and they carry on cooking in their own heat a bit. They're going to be for the mash, for the champ later. So the leeks are all going to go into the pan. I'm going to show you these cooking in a minute. I'll move it so you can see. And just fry the leeks, maybe a bit of onion, so normally a bit of onion as well, so I've got a bit of onion. I won't put the red onion in, otherwise it would discolour it. Then, so they're cooking, and I'm going to give them a bit of a stir, but I'll show you that in a minute. So, these sliced ones are going to go in the dishes, so I'm going to move that out of the way. I've got some dishes ready here. One here, that could be like an individual portion or one for about 2 people, depending how hungry you are. So I'm going to do one with cream and one with stock. One more dish out. So this could be the Bollinger one, and this is going to be the Dolphin one. So I'm just going to put the potatoes, some of them in each. Yeah. And we layer the onion in this one. So this can be the Bollinger one. So a bit of onion in, and it doesn't normally have red onion, but soon I've got some spare red onion. I'm going to put some red onion in it. Then I'm going to put some more potato in it. And what you can do that's really flash is if you had the right size cutter, I could show you this, but I'm not going to do this, but if you have lots of time, so I'm going to show you, but I'm not going to actually do it. With a small cutter like so, I could cut them. I'll cut a few actually while I'm here. I didn't want to keep you waiting too long. I'm going to cut a couple of these. One, and with a metal one it would cut easier, and you've got a plastic one at home. This size anyway. Then they're going to be nice and perfect sort of circles. They're going to look a bit posher on top. So let me just see if I can find 1 or 2 more that will fit in here. Then I'm going to put them on top. You put all the little bits underneath. Put the bits underneath. And these are called Bollinger. The reason they're called Bollinger is, Bollinger means bakery. Years ago, obviously ovens have well known now, but people didn't all have ovens, and then the bakers, when they turned their ovens off, they used to come up with their potato dishes and just chuck them in their ovens, and when they were like coal fired, they would keep hot for a couple of hours and they would cook the potatoes. So that saves them a bit of energy. So there's really got some here, but they will burn like that. So we need a couple of things in there, which is some stock, and I've made some chicken stock here, because I've boiled up some couple of carcasses, as you can see there, and there's the Leek's cooking and the potato trimming is cooking. So now we're going to put in some flavour to this. So for flavour, we need some butter, which I've melted some ready. I've melted some ready here, and we're going to put some stock in it. So like I said, I'm going to put some of the stock in over here. And a little bit of stock, about 3 tablespoons. A bit of salt and pepper. A little bit of salt and pepper. And white pepper normally, and if you only use a little bit, then I could have stirred this in a bit better underneath. But obviously whereas all the steam goes to it. Now to stop it burning on top, and to give it a bit more flavour, obviously butter, any kind of fat on potato is good. So I'm going to brush it, the top with a bit of butter. So these are called Bollinger Potatoes. And when they're cooked, you can cut them out a posh way. I might show you that later. So they're going to go in the oven. A little bit of tin foil over the top. And they take about an hour as well. Then we're going to do Dolphin wild potatoes, which are really popular. The only trouble is they're not very healthy, but I'd say they're very, very, very popular. Yeah, one of the most popular potato dishes I reckon in posh restaurants today. But now we need garlic and cream. So I've got some cream here, some double cream, and I've got some garlic already chopped up, and I'm going to put some parsley in it as well. So there's garlic in it, a bit of fresh parsley, and you can put a little bit of milk in this as well. So there's a little bit of milk in there. I'm going to put a little bit more milk in there. You don't have to be 100% cream. There's a little bit of cream and a little bit of milk. But more cream than milk, depending on how thick you want it. I've already put some salt in it. I've already put some salt in. So I'll put some in there. And put the rest of the potato on top, and I could do the fancy potato on this one as well, yeah? And you can add cheese to this as well, or if you don't like garlic, you could just cook it in cream. So bring it all the way to the top. And you can, some people parboil this first, but I don't normally do that, but you can do if you want to, you can parboil it. That goes in the oven. So that doesn't spill over, I'm going to make sure that sits in the tray. So that's going to sit in the tray here, because that might boil over the cream. So just putting them in the oven, and they're going to take an hour. Move them along. That's it. They'll take an hour, so that's done. Then I'm going to do the leek and potato soup. So the potatoes are going to be added to the leek. When you cook the leeks, try not to colour them. I'll colour them a bit there. So try and have it quite low, because obviously the soup's meant to look nice and light. But if you cook it too much like frying onions, and then you just have to cook that and liquidize it. So I'm just going to put the chicken stock on. Or if you haven't got that, you can just use normal vegetable stock and oxo. So that's boiling up now. So let's see what we've done so far. So we've got we've got 3 so far. Let me see what we are on the questions actually. So here's the questions here, by the way. So let me have a look which ones we've got. 3 ways to mash potatoes. That's the next thing we're doing. How to stop potatoes. So 3 ways to mash potatoes. So I'm going to tell you the 3 ways to mash potatoes. So, when you're all to think in your mind how to mash potatoes, so most of you are probably thinking of a potato masher. So in here, we've got a potato masher with these holes in. Do you see how big these holes are? So I've got a thing called a ricer. Now if you have a look at the different size holes, these holes, or these holes are a lot smaller. So obviously, you could get quite a big lump through that hole, but you won't get many lumps through here. So we're going to show you that. So I'm going to just clear the table, then we're going to do the next thing. So we'll finish with that for the minute, the chopping board for the minute. I'll save the cream and I can put that in the soup later. To make the soup a bit more simple. So I'm going to bring the mashed potatoes over here. I'm going to get a plate. This is a lot easier, and I'm going to wipe the table down with a bit of dishcloth or a bit of paper towel. There, we've got a bit of paper towel. We've got a nice clean table. So then, I'm going to do them on here. So these have been draining for a bit, so you need to do that, because otherwise you don't want them too wet. If they're too wet, so now I'm going to put them here. There's 3 ways to do this, obviously with the potato masher one with the ricer. Now a friend of mine, I taught him at college, in 1990 I taught at Highbury College. Now I taught him, but I didn't teach him this part of the course of mashing potatoes, and they teach them either how to do it with the ricer normally, but in a big place, like if you're cooking for 200 people, and you had about 30 times that amount, you'd be a long time doing it. So what they use then is like a mixing machine, like you have a freestanding Kenwood chef, but they have a big one. So in the canteen they'd have a bowl about this big, and when I was in the Navy they were even bigger, depending on how big the ship is. And so that would be the way, innit? He got to a place, he left his training, this lad, but he was quite old. He was older, he wasn't like, he didn't go to college at 16, he went as a bit older. So they obviously thought he could do more than he could. Anyway, at college they don't teach you how to do it on the machine, so when he had to do it at the college, at the workplace where he got the job to, he didn't actually know to use the machine. He thought he'd have to be putting it all through the ricer. So it's completely different. So hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to show you, the reason it's called a ricer is I push it out, it looks a little bit like rice. So as you can see, it's coming out and it looks a little bit like rice, the size of rice. So next bit, now I've only just bought this ricer because I got 2 at school, but I thought I'd buy one for home. I'll just normally use the masher, but this is good. So if you're going to pipe it, definitely, because then it blocks the piping bag up. This isn't the best ricer I've bought, but I had quite a few good reviews on Amazon. Wasn't too expensive, as you see, it's coming out, and you'll make sure it's lump free using this. The other thing pupils do, they sometimes don't cook it enough, so make sure you cook the potatoes, because it's really hard to do if they're not cooked properly, right? So make sure that you cook the potatoes if you are doing this. And we are due to make this year, but obviously we're missing out a few things. So we're definitely due to make this some type of potato dishes. Normally we do the Dolphin and a dry type as well, like one of these sort of mash type. So as you can see, that's done now, but it's not going to taste very good, so we need to flavour it. So what we're going to flavour it with, we're going to mash it. Well, not mash it, we've already mashed it. We're going to put some flavour stuff in it. So I'm going to put it back in the bowl, and then we're just going to stir it with a spoon, and we're going to put some different things in. So the first thing is butter and milk is the 2 most well-known things. We don't want it too wet because we're going to pipe this in a piping bag. Yeah. But we could use this for lots of different things now. Now we could make, now it's nice since I've let it drain, it's reasonably dry this, which is good. But we're going to put some butter in it. So I've got a bit of butter here, which I'm just going to microwave for a bit, because that's going to mix it in easier. The potato's gone a bit cooled down while I was doing the other stuff. So let's microwave that for a bit. I like white pepper, and if we are going to do that, I'm going to show you a little trick which I've done here with the fork. So it's a little bit longer, so it melts, and then I'm also going to put in a tiny bit of milk, but you have to put in the milk depending which consistency you like it. Yeah, a little bit of milk. You can put nutmeg in it as well. I'm not going to put any salt because I've salted it when I've done it, so I don't think I need any salt. I'm going to stir this in, and I'm going to pipe it out. Yeah. So let me see if it needs any more. Oh, I'll tell you one thing I'm going to put in. This is one of the questions actually. So in one of the past papers, it's got what are the uses of an egg, and there's lots of uses for an egg. One is enriching, which is putting it. So I'm just separating the egg, by the way. I've just done that. You've missed that over here. So I've got the white in here, and I've got the egg yolk in here. So I'm going to put an egg yolk in here as well, and that's going to enrich it. So that's the thing, most people never get this answer right. So by putting egg in food, you can enrich it, because eggs are very high in protein. So then I'm adding protein and a bit of fat in it, but it's enriching it. Also, it helps it it can help it when you pipe it so it doesn't spread out, because it actually thickens things, an egg yolk. So the next one, I'm going to pipe it. So I've got a piping bag ready here, and I put it in the jug. You don't have to put it in the jug, but that makes it easier to put it in. So I'm going to do two different things. Yeah. So I'm going to do a tomato here. So I've already taken the core out. You need to take the core out with a knife and put a little slit in the top here. Right, and I'm going to put this in boiling water for about 20 seconds. Or 10 to 15 seconds. So I'm just going to do roughly 10 seconds. Then I'm going to take it out and put it in some cold water. Then I'm doing that so I can skin it, by the way. So get all the potato out. That's probably had enough time. So I'm going to take it out. I'm taking it out. I'm just going to put it. Oh, I'm going to put it in this bowl here. And that's a potato bowl. So I'm just going to put some fresh water in there. I did have a bowl with some water in, but I think I've used it for something. Oh, I found it now. I've been hiding it over here. So I've got the bowl in. I've got it in the... And now normally that's enough, plenty of time for the skin to fall off. This is called refreshing it, by the way. So if you cool anything down, that's called refreshing it. So it's been in the water for about 15 seconds, depending on how ripe the tomato is. And then it cools it down straight away. Now that should be enough to peel this. So I'm just going to try that. And I've got a few onions here. So I'm going to make a thing called tomato concasse, which is fried onions with a bit of tomato for the filling of one of the potatoes. So I've got a pot over here. Get a little saucepan out. So I'm just going to fry a few onions. So either in some butter or a bit of oil, either way. I only need a few because I'm only going to use a couple of teaspoons. So we're going to use a few red ones for this. It's a red onion, but it's not any type can be right. And sometimes put some fresh parsley in it. Just going to cook that. That's it. So let's see if I can peel this ready. If not, sometimes you can just redo it. So this should peel it. Now there's another way to peel it in a minute, but then you waste loads of skin. So this should come off, as long as it's bubbling nicely. Maybe it needed a bit longer. It is doing it, but it's just a bit of this is a hard job. So when I taught at Highbury years ago, this was one of the first things I had to teach them, homemade mayonnaise and how to skin a tomato and make egg mayonnaise. That's one of what the 16-year-old pupils had to do. Sounds quite easy, but making the mayonnaise by hand, and we didn't have electric whisks in those days, so they all struggled with that. Well, not all of them, but some of them struggled. So it's nearly, yes, yeah, so sometimes it comes off easier than others. So this is skinning a tomato, so that's an extra skill for you. A little bit left on here, and it's quite time consuming, as you can see. So I'm going to chop that up in a minute. So I'm going to jet the chopping board back for a different chopping board. So on here, finish with the water. So we're going to cut it in half, cut it into quarters. Then we can cut the seeds out. We don't use the seeds. So this is called Marquis Potatoes, which I'm going to make here, and the other famous ones are Duchess. These ones aren't quite so well known. So with my big knife, I'm going to chop it up reasonably fine. Yeah, so chopping it up. If you go to some London hotels and places, probably won't even get this anywhere in Portsmouth, I wouldn't have thought. Possibly up in London, loads of places would be selling Marquis Potatoes. So that's the tomato, but then we're going to mix it with some a little bit of late fried onion, which the onion's frying at the moment. While I do that, I'm going to pipe it. So I've got a tray here. I've got the paper already, so it doesn't stick. I'm going to get a dish. A small one, any small one. I haven't got any potatoes. So I'm going to do Duchess first. push it down, push it down. I'll just bring it so you can see it. Move that there. So these are the ones of the Duchess. So you pipe it and then come up like so. So if you can see that. I'm going to do 3 Duchess. 1, 2, that's 2. So I'm going to do some Marquis as well. So the Marquis are a little nest shaped, only small, about this size, and I'm making a nest because the tomato bit's going to go in the middle, right? Yeah, the tomato bit goes in the middle. I'm not going to waste any of this. So they're the 2 main ones. There is another one, but you normally use a plain nozzle, and you have a large bit at the bottom, and then you have a little bit on top. But these are the well-known ones. So these ones are Duchess, and these ones are Marquis. So I'm going to see if there's enough for one more Marquis. I think I'm going to run out. But what you can do is to push it all out with your thumb. I might get enough just to finish this one off. Yeah. You don't waste it. Yeah. And what you can do with the piping bag, and this is for anything you're piping, you can push it down with something like a plastic scraper or another spatula. I normally use the plastic thing, so I'm going to show you on here. And push it down so it's to get it all out, and the plastic scrapers are better for this, or the table scrapers. Push it down and I can get a last little bit out, makes it easier to wash it up as well. So last one here. So the onion's about done now. The last one's harder to pipe, obviously, that's why it doesn't look quite thin. So I've got some onion, frying. I'm going to put a little bit of parsley in it. And I'm going to put this little bit of tomato in. And this is called tomato concasse, used for lots of different dishes. So I'm bringing that over here so you can see it. So tomato concasse is going to go in the middle. Yeah, and it loses a bit of its colour, the tomato, where it's taken the skin off, by the way. That one's done. With a teaspoon, fill them up. Yeah. Quite fiddly, that's why you might have never had them before. These are quite a tricky one. These would be good for your exam though. Something a bit unusual. These are actually harder than probably the roast type ones, so there's more elements to it. And you have to know, especially making the tomato. These ones are quite easy. Now what we can do to make them look good when they come out of the oven, we can brush them with a bit of butter. Just give that amount a bit more butter. In the microwave, and then they look a bit more colourful. And we're going to do the next bit. Also, add some of that. So they're ready to go in the oven once I've melted some more butter. So we have got one other type of thing to do. So that's one way of mashing. Another way of mashing, this is the fourth way of mashing potato. Now the reason I put a fork in there was normally you can put a skewer in them, because where metal conducts quickly, this will get hot and it will get hot inside, and that would cook quicker. Now I was going to do a little test of which timed it, but I'd forgotten, and then by the time they're all cooked actually. So the advantage of this is it's a lot drier, so the mash will be a lot drier. You know, this mash here is going to be drier than this mash, and I want it drier. So if you're going to make fish cakes or sort of cake type things with it, they're not going to be all sloppy as a pan. Now I think I've used all the potato right now, because I was going to do a hash brown. I won't do a hash brown today, but a hash brown, you can either get a half-boiled potato or a raw potato and just grate it and fry it. That's another type of potato, but that you normally have for breakfast. So I've melted it here, as you can see, and this is going to stop it going dry on top. We did this with the cottage pies in the test. If you've done that, that is. So we're going to brush them with this, and they're going to look golden brown when they're cooked. Otherwise they go dry on top. They go in the oven, but they only need about 15 minutes, so I'm going to put the timer on. Alexa, timer, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
So the next thing we're going to do is these ones here, so I'm going to cut them all in half. Now we're going to do a little taste test here. This is the Maurice Piper, and these are the normal ones. I could have a little taste of them to see if I can taste the difference. Probably can't, to be honest, when I've done it before. If we were at school, maybe we'll do this and we'll do so. We'll have a little taste of this one. Little taste of this one. I'm going to see if it tastes much different. Not really much different, so it's got a slightly different consistency. Anyway, with a larger spoon, it's easier. So one advantage of this is still going to be for mashed potato, by the way. And I can still put it through the ricer if I want to. So I'm going to take it all out first. Right, then you can use the skins. So I don't know about you, I like the skins. Now, I didn't ask this question, but they're well known for having fibre in. So that's one of the questions right at the end, actually, is what's good about potatoes. If you eat the skins, they've got a lot of fibre in, so that's a good one. And I like the skins. Now, people sell these in restaurants. They fill these with cheese and bacon, or for a vegetarian dish, cheese and spring onion or cheese and onion. And they deep fry these, and then they fill them with cheese and stuff. So they're called loaded skins or something. Or you can mash it up and put it back in here as well. That's quite nice. So mash it with some cheese and put it back. Yeah, that's another way to do that. So, but you can deep fry them. I'm not deep frying them today. But if I had a deep fryer, that's quite an easy way to do that. Now you can cook them in. These take about an hour in the oven, but you can microwave them. The only trouble is, the skins aren't very good on them. Now this one looks a bit soft, this one there, that's because that's a sweet potato, by the way. So, and you can peel with sweet potatoes, and whatever you can do with a normal potato. I think sweet potato chips are well known. Sweet potato mash we have. My wife mixes it with normal potato, and you can also have roasted sweet potato. It doesn't take as long, by the way. I put this in the oven, it doesn't take as long. So I've cooked this, so as you can see, you can make mash with that as well. So this one I'm going to do first, I'm going to put it through the roaster, get another plate out. But this is going to be, one advantage of this is, it won't be too sloppy. So if you boil it too much, the potato, sometimes it goes really wet. So we're going to do that in a minute. I'm going to mash that one last. So we're going to still put it through the ricer, but you could just mash this. Now this one won't be so lumpy, where it's definitely cooked, but it will be a lot drier, and I want it drier. And this will be okay for fish cakes or any sort of potato cakes I'm going to make. That bit hasn't been through yet. So as you can see, still put it through the ricer, but a mash is fine. Or you can use a fork actually. Do you know what? This is easy to use a fork. Now in some competitions before, I've got the pupils to do this. Years ago, I had 2 pupils in 2016 won £1,000, and they did the cold cannon. So I haven't used that yet. So I've used all the mash up. So this mash, normally you boil it for cold cannon, but as you can see, this is another way of making a mashed potato, and you don't even waste the skin then. So that's a good way of using these skins up, and so you don't waste it. So I'm going to also make potato cakes with this, and also I'm going to make cold cannon and champ. So champ is mashed potato with spring onions, and cold cannon is normally with kale or any type of cabbage. Now I've got some kale today, which is on here. That's kale, which is like a green cabbage, but it's like there's loads of different types of cabbage, but it's actually called kale. So that's a well-known one it's made with. Now some recipes say you put the spring onion in as well, and some even put bacon in it as well. So that would be quite good, as long as you're not vegetarian. I like bacon. That's good. So that's all being put through. I'm going to take that bit off because it's a bit brown where I've got a bit of the skin possibly. So that's finished with. Then this is for mashed potato. So obviously we can still put some butter in it, and I'm going to mix this in some sort of stuff. I'll probably mix it in this jug here or back in a saucepan. So one of the saucepans I can probably mix it back in. This is the one that has the last lot of mashed potato in, so this will be fine. But this will be a little bit drier, yeah? And the other one was actually okay, I would have got away with it. But this just shows you another way of doing it. And actually, if it's only you by yourself, it suits you peeling them. You can do it with a fork easily, so I'm going to put some butter in it. Yeah. Mix it around. So this is just mashed potato. Now I'm not going to put milk in this, I want it nice and dry. Yeah. Now I could put a little bit of pepper in, and like I said, I always put the end in so I don't put too much in. Some pupils have had it before and they've actually put far too much in. Yeah. I've seen people make it look real grey. So this will be fine, but then this is just normal mash now, but then I'm going to make the different types. So with this, I should be making some, this is the spring onion, so I'm going to make a little bit of champ. So I'm going to put that in this little jug here, and just mix a little bit of this spring onion in, but not all of it. Yeah, and if you want it a bit wetter, this is okay because I'm not making this into cakes. This is, so that's champ. Yeah, I'm going to put that on a plate ready. Then we're going to make some called cannon, which has got the cabbage and the spring onion in, or just cabbage or kale. So put some of this kale in. We have this quite often. So in 2000 and I think one of the questions is to do this, so I'm going to tell you that. Number 9, what 2 types of potato did the year 8 and 9 boys win £1,000? So in one year, in 2010, they won £700, and they made, and it went up, that's why it says 1,000 on that. So it was, they did the leaf-shaped potatoes that you've seen in the oven. So 2 boys in 2016 did cold cannon for the semi-final, and when they got to the final, they did crushed new potatoes with spring onions, yeah, and broad beans. So it's slightly different because it was a summer theme. So as you can see, we've got cold cannon. Now this is an Irish dish, and they have this on St Patrick's Day, and it might not look great, but it's like quite popular. So I'm going to put that on another plate, same plate, same plate. I'm going to show you that later once it's all served up. Now these ones here, we're going to do something fancy. So we're going to do, I'm going to do at least 2 things with this. So we're going to do a thing called Marquis Potatoes. So we need some flour, and we're going to make like a burger or a fish cake. So what you can do is we do make fish cakes in year 10, and that's when the fish is wet, it would make this too wet. So this is ideal, so it's nice and dry, and I can shape it and it's not falling all over the place. So you can mix the fish in this, either with tuna, tin tuna, or cook a bit of cod or haddock, or salmon or smoked haddock, any of those, and you mix it with that, and you can put some other things in as well. So that makes the shape. So make a nice fancy shape here. I can make a fancy shape, and then I'm going to fry these. Now this is a Marquis potato. That's a Marquis potato. Now the other one I was going to make, let me see what else I was going to make. So I probably only have to make 1 Marquis, because I've made the 2 different mashes. Now if you make bubble and squeak, by the way, that's normally mashed potato with loads of leftover vegetables in. That's another one. Oh, I know what I'm making, croquette potatoes. I nearly forgot that. So we're going to make croquette potatoes. So croquette is a cylindrical shape. So hopefully you can see this. Let me just check my camera. Oh, you can. So this is going to make 2 actually, it's going to be too long. So croquette potatoes, push it in. As you can see, you can pipe this. If you've got making notes of this, you can pipe it with a plain nozzle. But if not, you roll it, and they should be the same size. So hopefully this is going to be the same size. Not quite. Don't want it too thin actually. More likely to break. Then we egg wash and breadcrumb these, and we deep fry them. Yep. So now we dip them in some egg. Get a fork. So what I did in the end, I just had a great idea. I put the, make sure the camera's still on. I put the little trimmings in with the soup actually, so I should have used them rather than just that's a good idea. So this is just going to get fried, like dry fried, and this is going to sort of can get deep fried. So I'm just going to get a frying pan here and move the rings around. I'm going to get a frying pan out. On that big, that's going to do. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in it while I'm waiting. That can heat up while I make washing and breadcrumbing, I'm thinking. Yeah, and you can deep fry them, but we're not going to deep fry the croquettes. We're just going to shallow fry them. Yeah. So I'm moving all the stuff out. That's on. By the time I've washed and breadcrumbing, that'll be ready to go in, I think. So now we dip this in the egg, and you make breadcrumbs just by liquidising with a blender. So these ones here could have some cheese in. I'm not going to waste them. I'm going to use them another day. I might do 2 of them now just to show you. Just fill them with cheese and onion or something, or cheese and bacon. But I'm not going to cook the bacon, but you could do that. So I'm going to put this in the egg. And like I said, you can put cheese in this. So I could egg wash and breadcrumb this, and it'd be like with cheese in it. It'd be like a bit like a fish cake, but with cheese in for a vegetarian. So we do make fish cake, but the people that don't want to make, some people that don't like fish, quite a few, can make cheese. Or if you're vegan, you put beans in it. So you obviously wouldn't be able to put any milk in it, or soya milk you'd have to put in it or something. And rather than butter, you'd have to make sure there's no buttermilk in it. So in here, and we roll these. And this is how they make croquettes. So you've probably seen these before. You can buy these in the shops and you just chuck them in the oven. So that's how you've probably seen these. So there's loads of different potato dishes that you might not have seen. This one doesn't need egg wash and breadcrumbing, but it could be if it was like a fish cake. So that's a nice easy way to make a fish cake. So they're croquettes. Yeah. Move the thing around to show you. So we've got the soup cooking. We've got a frying pan here. Now normally this would be deep fried if you had a deep fryer, but most of you might not have that. So this goes in here. These go in here, and we have to roll those round a bit. So when they go golden brown, we have to turn them over. One advantage of a deep fat fryer, you don't have to stir. You don't stir it. You just put them in there, and they go even all over. So we're going to fry that. And with a sweet potato, I want to come back to that. So while that's cooking, just going to bring that back so I can get a fish slice out. Or something to stir it with, spatula or something. So we're going to turn this one over. Oh, it's not cooked yet, but we're going to turn these ends over. Not going to want them to burn, so you have to make sure you look up. If you're shallow frying them, they're hard. So in the real exam, if you were going to do the croquette, we probably put the deep fat fryer on. So as you can see, they're frying, but we're just going to come back to the sweet potatoes, and I'm going to look after them at the same time. Yeah. So that's on. Cooking, they go golden brown. Then we're going to do the sweet potatoes. The sweet potato can be cooked anyway. So just to show you. These are classed as one of your 5 a day, but the actual normal potatoes aren't actually, which is unusual because these have got actually some sugar in, far more sugar than a normal potato. Alexa, how much sugar in 100 grams of sweet potato?
100 grams of sweet potatoes has 2.4 grams of sugar.
I'm going to ask that again. Alexa, how much sugar in 100 grams of sweet potato?
100 grams of sweet potatoes has 2.4 grams of sugar.
Oh, not that much actually. Alexa, how much sugar in 100 grams of normal potato? Alexa, how much sugar in 100 grams of normal potato?
Here is what I found. One medium potato has 1.7 grams of sugar.
Oh, so it had not much more. I thought it has a lot more calories in than a normal potato. Anyway, mash this up and you can have this the same way. So you either like this. In a lot of countries, they have, these are sweet potatoes, they have yams which aren't the same. In Nigeria, I used to teach in a prison at one time. And one of the things I had to teach was Nigerian cooking actually. And they used to eat it with their fingers, and they used to have all their meals with yams. So that was the thing. So I'm just going to stir these. So I'm turning it over. Oh yeah, that's good looking, good colour now. So I'm going to show you them. Then I'm going to wait till all this other stuff's cooked. Oh, so we've got the sweet potato and we've got these cooking here. So I'm just going to wait for everything to come out of the oven and serve it up and just go through the rest of the questions.